Today I'm going to be trying to break down the game Crossy Road and giving some tips and tricks to hopefully help you to be able to understand some of the risks in the game and be able to mitigate it so that you can get higher and higher scores. So the top 5 tips that I can give that will help you to be a better player and to be able to recognize some of the things in the game that try to trip you up. For number 1, I would say is don't panic. While it may seem like a no-brainer, you'd be surprised just how easy it can be to get antsy or nervous as so many things are moving on the screen that can affect how you think or you move. The game really relies on you becoming overwhelmed by all the cars and trains and logs moving as the game goes on. So one of the best things that you can do is to remain calm and constantly be aware of where your character is on the screen. There are many safe spaces on the map that can be utilized if needed, like lily pads and even train tracks if you see them go past, that you can use to take a breath before you continue, so you don't feel the need to go quickly. But don't be so afraid of the screen moving beneath you that you make too quick of movements also, because more often than not, you'll make mistakes if you feel rushed. Tip number 2 would be to stay in the middle of the screen whenever possible. So one of the things that can happen during the course of the game that makes it much harder is when your character moves too far to the left or the right of the screen. That can be dangerous for multiple reasons. First of all, it adds a lot of risk when crossing roads with cars because you're unable to see when cars come onto the screen from the left or the right, which makes it difficult to time when it's best to start going. Secondly, when crossing logs, if two rows of logs are moving the same direction, it won't give you much leeway to the player to move to avoid falling off of the edge. And finally, it actually makes it easier for the bottom of the screen to catch up to you and overtake the character at times, all which can result in a game over. So the best thing that you can do to help with timing and just general flow of the game is to utilize the logs to course correct your character back into the middle of the screen whenever possible. It may seem trivial, but this can really help you in the longer run. Tip number 3 is to keep count of your jumps when possible. This tip can actually help with executing our first tip of not panicking by making sure you keep count of how many jumps you need to make to progress. When you're faced with a road with multiple cars, for example, if you realize that you need to make 5 jumps in order to cross the road, it'll make it easier mentally for you to understand what you need to do. So, for instance, when you're trying to time the pattern of a car, think to yourself, I need to make X amount of jumps in order to get to the next safe spot. And then once you get to that safe spot, remind yourself again how many jumps are needed to get to the next safe spot. Again, this could seem trivial, but when most people panic, they hit the button too many times to jump, which can lead to a game over. So understanding exactly how many jumps are needed to get across can help you lead to a longer run as well. Tip number 4 is to, when possible, try to look ahead. One of the most important things that you can do is to take a look at all the obstacles that are coming up and what's required to be able to continue progressing. The best example of this is when it comes to train tracks. If you can look ahead and see that a train is about to cross or that it has just passed, you know that it's physically impossible for another train to come while it's still on the screen. Therefore, you can utilize it as a safe space. This can save you a lot of stress as the game goes on, because as cars begin to move faster and more erratically, you'll need to take advantage of every safe space that you can. You can also look ahead to potentially see gaps and openings between cars in the next section that you can take advantage of. And if you use the method where you count your jumps, you can perfectly time jumps in order to skip over entire sections of the game. That being said, don't look forward so much that it makes you unable to get through your current section, but at the very least, always look for train tracks in advance so you can use as safe spaces. And finally, sometimes risk can pay off. One of the trickier situations that you can run into during the course of the game that can easily lead to a game over is when there are multiple semi-trucks or cars that seem to be going in a pattern that just can't be passed. A lot of the patterns that semi-trucks take offer very little gaps between the cars that at first glance look as though there isn't a way to get past them. However, if you time it right, you can. The problem sometimes with not being aggressive is that you can miss your window of opportunity and then get taken over by the screen or reach an unbeatable pattern. So when you see tiny gaps or small windows of opportunity, as long as you time it correctly, you can keep going. So let's put all of these tips together into one run and see what it looks like when all of these tips are utilized. So as the run starts, one of the first things that I'm looking at is I can see that there are train tracks right through this next section here. So as you stop and you are looking to get across this road, I know I'm watching to see when the train is going to come across, or if it's going to come across at all, because I know that if it does pass, then that gives me a safe spot that I can jump 3 spaces onto the train tracks and be safe to be able to time the next jump. If it doesn't come at all, then I know that I'd also have some time to be able to make it through because the train hasn't come yet. So if you use those timing your jumps, so I know that I need 3 jumps in order to get to the train tracks, and then I need 3 jumps in order to get to the next safe spot after that. So I'm looking forward to seeing when the trains are going to come, and the double train tracks ahead of it as well. I'm constantly looking ahead to see if those are coming at all, so that I know that if they do come, then I'll have safe spaces to jump onto them. So I just make my way through the beginning of here. The log sections, you just need to make sure that you're looking at the direction that the patterns are going. If they're going the same direction, then you want to be able to time it so that, or you look ahead to the next section to be able to see to be able to know the speed of it. Normally one log will be going fast and another will be going slow, so you just want to make sure that you time it so that you don't miss that jump at all. But normally they go different directions, so you can just go across all the logs without much issue. Just take your time if you need to. Then when I get to this section here with the 4 cars, this is where you want to be able to notice the speed of the cars. Normally there is at least one of the rows that has a slower moving car than the others. So you can also utilize that row there if you need to be able to get to that. So you know if all the cars are going fast and one is going slow, as soon as the slow car moves out of your way, you can get to that spot and stay in the middle of the road until you have a little bit of gap to get through. You don't want to make a habit of doing that because sometimes you can just get hit with a bad pattern and then get hit anyways. But sometimes that slow row can really help you to be able to progress through. You don't have to make it across the street in one giant gap. You can go one space at a time if you need to. So just make sure to take your time. And then here's a little bit of a risk here where I make a tiny gap there. So that's a risk that you have to take sometimes to be able to slide through. But you can definitely make it. So we make our way through some logs and some easy road sections. So again, just take your time as you go along the logs. It's pretty generous with allowing you to get through there. And then we come to another road section here. So again, don't panic, take your time and get through it without much issue. So that train just went across, so I know that first train is safe. And so then I can take my time and go through the next train and then make my way across. So this is a section where it shows some of the logs go in the same direction. So again, don't panic. Use the safe train tracks and make your way forward. So as you progress into the game, you're going to hit more sections where there are multiple train tracks and like log sections leading to train tracks, that sort of thing. So you just want to take your time. Again, look forward and see the trains that have gone forward to know which ones are safe and which ones are not. When there are sections where there's like 3 or 4 train tracks in a row, you always want to default to be on the closest train track to you if possible, because if one of the trains does go forward, then you have the option to jump ahead to the next one to be safe. If you go all the way to the farthest one, and that one does the lights come on and you might get hit, then you're more likely to get hit and be kind of trapped. But the closer that you stay to the front of the train tracks, the more opportunity you have to kind of find the safe one. So you just want to take your time on the train tracks and then make your way over there. So again, the farther that you go along, the faster the cars are going to go, and then the more of a close together the cars are going to be. So you just really want to take your time and look ahead as much as you can. So there's a couple sections here where there are tricky train patterns. So you just want to take your time. Don't panic. So here's a tricky section here with a bunch of cars. So I jump into the road. I see that there's some slow ones. So I kind of use that as a way to be able to kind of take my time to get through that section. Then there's a section there where I have to go really quickly because I see that some train tracks are going to come. So I try to speed ahead and take that risk to be able to get to pull myself a little bit ahead. So that's a section or a time where you want to kind of take some risks in order to get through there. So yep, we're doing well. So we just keep going. Again, take your time. Just make your way or take those risks if possible. If you see a little gap where you can quickly get 3 or 4 jumps in, absolutely do it. The game really rewards you as the game goes on for taking those risks and for trying to jump sections. So you want to, whenever possible, to take those risks and just keep moving as quickly as possible. But again, you don't want to go too fast, or you don't want to just hit the button willy-nilly because you'll run into trouble. But so there's a section here where these are really close together. So again, that can be tricky, but the logs are pretty generous with as long as you jump on the edge of it, it'll let you get on there. So we were able to take advantage of that. So we're continuing to make our way through here. So that's a really close one where the train almost hit me. But so you're going to run into those as well. So you just got to trust that you're going to have the time to get through it. So just take those risks. But so we're coming to the end of the run here. Again, this is we're getting some unlucky patterns, that sort of thing. But yeah, so that's pretty much what we're looking for. We're looking to take advantage of risks. We want to mitigate as many things as possible, and then eventually you're just going to lose. So don't feel bad if you do eventually lose or get hit. As long as you can get above that high score, that's all that matters. So hopefully that helped to be able to visualize it a little bit, and hopefully it'll help you to continue to get better at the game and get those high scores.